Let me bore you with the history of the light bulb. When Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, what he used as the filament, like that thing inside the bulb that is actually shining the light, was some kind of fiber. I can't remember again, but some kind of, maybe it was paper or some kind of fabric. But the way he designed it, it lasted for like 14 hours. And a light bulb is usually just heat. The light is a consequence of the heat. I don't think there's ever any light without heat. Anywhere you see light, it's caused by heat. Nah. Who are you? Are you a scientist? Anyway, it needs to just more understanding of the thing. I'm not quite sure. But I think they had to make it a bulb, like to cover that heat. That's why they made it a bulb. You get? And so that first fiber lasted like 14 hours. Other inventors now started trying to improve on it so that the light bulb can last longer. So they're using different elements to make the filament. That filament in the bulb, like that thing that actually emits the heat and the light. And so they got to tungsten and they used more carbon-based stuff, and then I think that was where it became strong. So at some point in the late 1920s or 1930s, between 3K to 4K hours, a light bulb could last. But that kind of thing, at this point now, there are many light bulb manufacturers in the world already. So at some point, the market began to dwindle. Like one company sold like 68 million units of light bulbs one year. The next year, they sold 23 million units because everybody will be gravitating towards the longest lasting light bulb. The top ones decided to get together in 1930 or 1930 something and decided that this market is dwindling among all of us. And obviously, if the light bulb is lasting as long as forever, then eventually nobody will need light bulbs again. So where is the business in that? I just remembered that story, but I'll tell you. Where's the business in that? So they all decided to be selling one lifespan. And so they started looking for ways to cut down the lifespan of the bulbs. Same like manufacturers and inventors that were racing towards the highest lifespan of a bulb. They now asked to find ways to make it last shorter or die earlier. Eventually, before 3 years, they had already cut it down. They had an average of like 1.5 thousand hours. And eventually it all stabilized. And how they will keep each other in check is that as you are manufacturing, they had a committee that used to pick random samples from all the different companies and test them. And so, based on if you fall below the average or the standard at the cartel, they call them the Phoebus Cartel. That's their name, the Phoebus Cartel. All those light bulb manufacturers that came together in Geneva, in Switzerland. These Swiss people, I don't know why they are Swiss. They should be Jews. The way they are with money, or the way everything about money or greed. Because I see no reason why that meeting had to hold in Geneva for some reason. It's not as if all those companies were based there. And so, at some point, they rounded it down to 1,000 hours. They got a formula. That was it. That was a staple. And, that's what everybody now calls planned obsolescence. As you know, they've taken comments off of Spotify. It was there before, and people could comment, and we were getting comments, and then Spotify took it off. And so the only way we can interact are the other tools that are available there, like the Q&A and the polls. So with each episode, we have Q&As and polls. And as you listen to the episode, you will find prompts to go and answer a Q&A or participate in a poll. Please, I really need this feedback. And so I like it to be more interactive like that. As you're listening, please endeavor to just take out of your phone from your pocket, engage in the poll or the Q&A when it's time. And God will bless you. Or you just do that. I think there's planned obsolescence and perceived obsolescence. So planned obsolescence is the one where they actually make the thing useless or too terrible, such that too terrible and too expensive to fix that the only logical solution would be to buy another one or an updated version. That is planned obsolescence. They actually do something in the manufacturing. That's the same thing with the bulb. That is a perfect example of planned obsolescence. Then perceived obsolescence is like the more recent stuff now. Like perceived obsolescence is the one where they make you feel like your stuff is useless or it's not useful anymore, it's not it anymore. The people that manufactured the Ford motors were like, their idea is to make a machine like a constant workhorse that will not be tired, that will never need any repair. They will make it the best quality possible. And it was just a nice working machine, standard, with one color, one design, just standard working machine. But like after a few years, normal economics were kicking, and obviously, almost everybody had a car. Almost everybody that could afford a car. I think even at some point, there was a deal that the company made with the government to allow people take loans to buy cars because they were such a fantastic convenience then. I think they did that with sewing machine or cars in the US around that period. So almost everybody had a car. So with economic shaky around that period, these people said the company started seeing their eyes started seeing blur because they're not selling anything again. So they had to improvise. Well, I don't even think it's Ford that did the improvisation mostly. It's General Motors, because it's told them they were selling cars that period. So General Motors started this thing where every year or every few years they will release a new car. But what they will do is that they will be painting them different colors. That thing of cars having different colors now. Started doing different style. Then every year, they will manufacture another set of cars that will be different. That's where like models started coming into play. So they will do this one and say, this is a different upgraded version, and then to come with different colors. And then maybe the next year releases will not even have, you understand, like green, yellow, and blue can come out in 2026. 2027, new model will come out, but not only will it be a new model, yellow, purple, and ash maybe will come out that year. So those colors will be unique, I'll be synonymous to that year. I saw this video on Veritasium that spoke about this thing I'm talking about today. Veritasium is a YouTube channel I've been following for years. Like, they break things down. If you want to understand how things work, just follow Veritasium on YouTube. In that video, I could see how over the years, people had the good intention, like how these Ford people wanted to make a car that will last long and will be very, very durable. Everybody always has the interest of the community at heart until they start messing with their money. When they see that market is not going well again, everybody will change mouth and start shifting the needle small so that they can make more money. It's just money that makes people not to do things for humanity so we can have utopia. That's essentially why we can't have nice things. So perceived obsolescence is now where you think the one you have is not good enough anymore because of the way the newer ones look, and simply the idea of them even releasing a newer one. For example, if your car still works or your phone still works, you don't need a new phone. The company that sold you the phone that you're using that still works probably doesn't need to produce a new phone. If they do, it's probably to make more of your phone so that it can service the demand. So it is literally logically inexplicable that these companies produce this stuff every year that does the same basic thing, but they add new features. And that's the thing. New features, again, that's one of the tools that makes the older versions seem obsolete. And so its next one is perceived because it's actually not obsolete. Cars from 2006 are still running on the road, at least in Nigeria. And these cars were made 20 years ago. Imagine that. How old were you 20 years ago? But there's also another reason why this planned obsolescence has to happen. And it's not just the elites or the owners of these companies. It's like every generation just gets 1 inch of greed added, one inch in thickness of the greed in their hearts. I mean, all of us. But yes, there's one reason why I think even the working class or the masses, why we also contribute to the inevitability of planned or scheduled obsolescence. There's a movie from 1951 called Man in the White Suit. He nearly won an Oscar, I think. Said it was for best screenplay or something. In this movie, this scientist invented a thread, a fabric, that was unstainable. It was pure and it would always remain pure. Thread. And before the science world and the whole world was rejoicing over this new invention, they celebrated the invention. And then that thread now, so he made a suit out of it. And obviously the suit was white because it was so unstainable you couldn't even tie the fucking thing. And so the guy used to parade with his white suit up and down. And manufacturers were buying the thread until, guess what? Money got involved. They couldn't sell anymore. But aside that, Because the manufacturers are not selling, and obviously you don't need two of the unstainable, untearable, indestructible white jackets. Which means the workers in the factory felt like they would lose their jobs if there's no more demand for white jackets, for the durable jackets. And so if that happens, they will lose their jobs, and then there goes their livelihood. There was even a scene in the movie where this woman was like complaining to the inventor while he was wearing his suit that she likes to do her washing. So, what happens to her washing now? So you see these things, sometimes they have effects on us that are not quite directly monetary, but eventually, if certain things lasted forever, they would probably not be good overall for community. If you have an idea of anything like that, if you can think of something that if it lasts forever, probably won't be good for us as a collective, let me know in the Q&A. And also in the Q&A, check for the question where we ask for any other examples of planned or scheduled obsolescence that you've noticed. Let's hear that one. Don't say Apple, because Apple's own self is quite apparent. Their own is the most obvious one that is catching all of us now. And I think we have caught on to it, but because they also augment it with like quality and the level of dominance they have in the market, it's almost like, okay, we know, but I beg, it's convenient, let's just go with it. But now, one of the things that I've taken seriously in the last few months is personal finance. And personal finance teaches me not to waste money. And so if something that you're using is still working perfectly fine, is efficient, if it costs you way cheaper to fix it than it would to replace it, then just fix it. The fixing to repair ratio is wide. You should just keep fixing until that ratio becomes too close, and then you can replace. Always replace from a place of efficiency, not luxury or how will I look. Cook. A whole personal finance lecture in the middle of something else. So if your iPhone still works, them releasing a new phone with round edges when we already had round edges a long time ago, or with 3 cameras when we already had a clear and efficient camera on the phone from 4 years ago, all these things are not really useful. They just give us the idea that it's an upgrade on what you're currently using. Meanwhile, these days, there is no upgrade anymore. Things are just different. They just make the newer model different. Because at the core, all these devices are doing the exact same things efficiently, all of them, in the last half a decade. This leads me to one other insight. You see that we've been able to be coerced into what all these companies have been doing with this thing of planned obsolescence. And we are at the point where it is now a norm and nobody could really fight it or anything like that. It is because of one particular thing, and it's that they came together. It's just a bunch of people with a common goal that had unity. From the Phoebus Cartel to Apple to General Motors, everybody. It was a group of people that got together with a common goal and achieved something. It's what we now, who are a major in numbers, cannot ever do. But there's also a way to fight this thing back. And it's mostly through litigation, legislation is what I would call it. Litigation is when you're suing a fellow civilian. But I hope I'm correct. Let me not be misinforming good living people. People should be Googling stuff in case I'm wrong. I just be spitting out some kind of things sometimes. But there's this viral clip from I think 2003 or 2005. Let me play it for you.
2003.
Thank you for calling Apple. My name's Ryan. May I have your first name, please?
Casey?
All right. What seems to be the issue today?
I have an iPod that I bought about 18 months ago, and the battery is dead on it.
18 months. Okay, it's past its year, which basically means for there'll be a charge of $255 plus a mailing fee to send it to us to refurb it, to correct it. But at that price, you might as well go get a new one.
You got 50 million views. Imagine 2003 or 2005. If you get it to 50 million views when there was hardly any social media. But it was crazy. And because of that, they had to put in a new law. Some kind of right to repair. I mean, the law says no even day. I think they're it's something that they are battling now. They want to enshrine it into law for every manufacturer to include rights to repair in all their gadgets. And I think that's one way that we can fight it back, because the law is there to protect everybody now, but if it's not. But that right to repair thing is funny, because in Nigeria, who cares? Like, once your thing spoil, you find the nearest person that can take money from you and fix it, and you go about your jolly way. But lawyers, please check the Q&A section. Only lawyers or people who have legal knowledge. Is there something like a right to repair law in Nigeria for manufacturers? Or is there any way this right to repair law can apply to us? Plus, anybody that's repairing phone now and people's gadgets up and down just because they can, are they committing any kind of crime? Is there some kind of ethical violation there for doing that? Let us know in the Q&As. Since we don't have comments now, since Spotify refused to add comments for our region, that's not even the case. I would have loved it if it was that. Comments came. We had comments on Spotify here. I was getting comments, and then they took it. Say it's not available in your region. You don't know that the podcaster here is having DMs and people wanting to comment and asking, how can I drop a comment? And I'm just scavenging the app like a fool, not knowing that you people have taken the comments away. What you can do now, don't fall, at least be aware of this whole thing of planned and perceived obsolescence, especially the perceived one, because that's the one that really takes your money. That's what these capitalists want, for all the money to just filter its way up like osmosis, all the way up to the top to them, and they will find little ways to keep chipping away at your free 500k or your free 100k or 50k. Just be finding ways to keep taking more and more money out of your pocket by making you buy stuff you don't need every year. The new iPhone is not upgraded, it's just different. Stay woke. And then also the one that is already like planned obsolescence, just be aware of them, now, because some people that manufacture the same product, I don't think they all have the same lifespan. So some generators last longer than others. There's the average lifespan of each generator. There's the average lifespan of each power bank company these days. So if you check the averages, just pick the one that lasts the longest. And when you've used it to its term, just charge it to the game and replace it. At least you know that you've consciously made a decision. The reason I'm interested in this stuff is because whenever I find out a way that somebody or some entity, is always an entity, is using my head and I could be oblivious about it, I always try to find out and lock every other avenue that they could use my head like that. And that's what I'm thinking. Is there any way that planned obsolescence can be likened to humanity, like to you and me, to human beings? Is there a way that some people, some entity is making us obsolete, planned, or perceived obsolete? Check the Q&A for this. Let me hear what you think. God, this Q&A thing, I'm not sure how it works, so I'll try to make it in a way that you can actually interact and give me the feedback I'm looking for. But if I can't, you will obviously know when you check the Q&A. For me, I think in Nigeria, there's this thing where everybody is thinking the average age of a young person is older than what it actually should be. People are turning 30, which I think is a serious age, and still thinking they are 19, like still giving that teenager vibe, because obviously it's the same consciousness, but like at certain stages of your life, there are certain things that need to have been done normal. Like they will say, don't put pressure on yourself. All of us know that in this country, we are behind, if I was given birth to in the US and I grew up there, Coke, this me, I'll be a totally different man. And that's because in your country, people of this age, there are certain expectations of us which are less than it should be, which are less than world standard. And it's perceived obsolescence because now it makes you useless. We should be active in politics like mad at this age. Everybody that is like 21 and upward should be mad active in politics. That's your future. But we are not. And obviously, the world and social media, everything is indulging us to feel like we are still kids and we still have parents. Like, our rulers are like, they'll just tell us what to do. Like, we are still school kids. Meanwhile, I have reached the age to start charging up, making decisions, wondering what are you saying about what's going to happen when I go to buy fuel. what kind of room? Who is going to be doing this law with you? You know, like checking stuff. Nobody's checking anybody. Everybody just wants to do their thing individual. I want to move abroad. Let me go to school in UK. I want to part of my portfolio. My CV. You're not looking at what are you doing. Nah, I've gotten into this preaching. You know it. You get the full idea. Just be aware, even of the real life one. Thank you very much for listening to the Good Living Podcast. It's always fantastic. Remember to share this episode, like it, rate it. Catch you in the next episode. Bye-bye. I recently met this girl called Felin. She's a podcaster, and the name of her podcast is Lyns Candor. LYNSKCANDOR. Lyns Candor. I recently did an episode with her at the beach. It's a video episode, and so that episode is coming out this week. I want you to stay tuned for it because I think it was fantastic. We talked about marriage, and I think I made her angry. Stay tuned for that episode. Check out Lyns Candor.